Hey everybody, how you doing today? Um, my name's Sam. I'm here on my YouTube channel, Slantfish65SD. I would like to talk to you today about something that is often overlooked and rarely ever talked about, or rarely ever even thought about by some people. I just recently got done working on a vehicle for a gentleman, and the particular car in question had a lot of high performance parts and pieces and stuff put on it. But unfortunately, they did not see to the details of making sure that these parts and pieces were anchored to the vehicle, bolted down. Um, so that's what I want to talk to you about today. Is I want to talk to you about the fasteners and nuts and bolts and washers. Now, I'm not going to talk very much about metric fasteners because, well, simply because I don't really work with metric fasteners that much. I work with standard fasteners a lot more. However, there are a lot of stuff, there is a lot of things the ideas and things that you can use from one type of fastener to another. For those of you who don't know, however, metric and standard fasteners do not work together, okay? Now, there's plenty of you out there that already know that, but I just thought I'd go ahead and get that out of the way. Um, Let me go ahead and get this down from here and switch the camera around. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Like I said before, we're going to start with the metric fasteners. We're going to start by how to identify them. Okay. Now this one here, let's see. This one here is a caterpillar bolt. This is you see right there on the head when the camera can come into view, can focus on that. It says 10.9 there at the top of the bolt head. Okay. Now this one's got a lot of glare on it, but it says 4.8. Now those are the metric measurements for being able to identify these bolts as far as like their strength. Okay. Now I'm going to show you the imperial equivalent to that. This is a grade 5 bolt. You see the three little notches there on the top of the head. That marks this as a grade 5. Okay. Now let's see. Let me get one here. That's another grade 5. Smooth on top. Yes. There we go. Yes, this here, as you see, this has got 6 notches on top. This is a grade 8 bolt. This is much, much stronger than this one. Okay? Now, there are 3 main portions to a bolt. Okay? There's the head, the shank, that's the entire length right here, and we have the threaded area. Okay? Now, of course, the threaded area, if it's damaged or boogered up, it's not going to allow it to work with its appropriate nut. Now, you'll see some bolts that'll have this this non-threaded area right here, like these two here, and this one. And then you'll see some that are threaded all the way up, like this one here. The reason for this non-threaded area is to help locate the bolt in the hole to help stabilize it, or to help stabilize the part it's going into. Maybe a bracket or something of that nature. But anyway, now a lot of people will get a wrench and they'll put it on this bolt here, and they'll say, "Oh, I have a 1/2 inch bolt." Well, no, you don't. That's wrong. What you've got is you've got a bolt that is identified by the thread size, the thread diameter, the diameter of that thread right there. Okay, so that's how you want to identify it. So when you go into the hardware store, or the auto parts store, or whatever, to get some hardware, you'll say, "Hey, I got a 1/2 inch bolt," and they're immediately thinking something along more like this here. this would be probably more like a 1/2 inch bolt, not this. Okay, this is more like a, more like a, I'll tell you what, let me show you a neat little trick on how to identify the size of a bolt. I learned this years ago when I wanted to identify the size of a bolt. Let me get a couple of wrenches here and I will show you. Okay, so when I want to identify the size of a bolt, what do? It's very, very simple. Very simple indeed. I just take my bolt, put it down in there. Hey, guess what? It fits pretty good. It doesn't fit there. Doesn't fit that. That's way too loose. And it doesn't fit this at all. Okay, so this is a 5/16 thread. Okay, now something else too is the thread is identified not only by the 5/16 but also by the amount of threads per inch on an imperial bolt. Okay, now metric, they do that just a little differently, but it's the same kind of idea. So these right here, how many of these threads, I wish my camera would like focus in, how many of these threads per inch is the, like this one here is a 5/16 bolt. So this one here is probably like a 5/16 by, oh, let's say, maybe like 16 threads per inch or 15 threads per inch or something of that nature. Now there are a lot of others though. All of what I've got here is just a small little sampling. Now, as you can see, this is a coarse thread. All of these are coarse thread bolts. This one, however, is a fine thread. You see a whole lot more threads per on the bolt shank right there. Okay, now a fine thread bolt, reason being is that you use a fine thread to hold more torque, more load. Okay, so that's some good bits of information there, and that's stuff that's always worked for me. Now let's get over here to these bolts, nuts and bolts over here. Now you'll notice all of these nuts have these neat little captured washers, which I really like. This is all factory hardware. Okay, also the bolts do too. They have the captured washers. Makes assembling the vehicle just a little bit quicker. But they also like to use these non-threaded areas on the bolt called a pilot. This just allows the bolt to like self-center and self-pilot itself into the hole, so that when the guy on the assembly line working there, or girl working on the assembly line, goes and tightens that bolt up, that bolt will just go right on in and thread on into the hole, and it's done. Now, of course, some of these nuts aren't traditional. You see this little sheet metal looking deal right here, which is pretty neat. And of course, they also like to use stuff like this, these speed nuts. Now, let's go over here and let's talk about washers just a minute. Now, washers, of course, as you can see, they come in a wide variety of sizes and styles. I'll go ahead and I'll start talking about locking washers. As you can see, we have this. This is not a broken washer. This is actually a locking washer. Okay, this is a lock washer. This locks the fasteners together and keeps them from coming apart, or locks the fastener to whatever it's securing. This is another style of locking washer here. This has got the little serrated teeth on it, sort of like a saw blade. This one here is very similar to that, but it's got the serrated teeth inside. Okay, again, just to lock the fastener together. And of course, washers can be made from lots of different materials. We've got steel, brass, copper, even plastic and aluminum. And they're even made certain ways. You can see this one here has a certain kind of wave to it there that allows it to fit a certain item or a certain shape. And of course, we also have some even made out of fibrous material to help seal it to something, like for maybe a drain plug. So, also, now, I want to talk to you also about bolts and nuts and washers, and how that they go together, and that some people don't seem to take this in. This is the biggest thing that a lot of people don't seem to take into consideration. Now, if you look, I'm going to swing this camera back around. Now, let me see. Sorry about that. Let's set the camera right up there. Okay. Now, let me get this out of the way. Let me show you something here. See this nut and this bolt right here? See how nice and smooth? That is just going right together like butter. It's great. Okay? That's what you want. You want that nut to just go right on the bolt every single time. No drama, no garbage, no nothing. Okay? Now, we've seen that. Let's see another bolt and nut in action here. Let's see. How about this one here? Hear that? I don't know if you can hear that or not, but there's a lot of grit and dirt and grime and filth in this bolt. Now, this bolt can be cleaned up very easily, and this bolt will be fantastic. Okay? But right now, it's nasty and grimy and filthy, and you don't really want to use this in the shape that it's in. Okay? But like I said, this isn't bad. A little bit of brake parts cleaner, carburetor cleaner, something like that, maybe a wire brush, something along those lines, and this will be fantastic again. Okay? But here's what I really want to talk to you about. This is what really irritates me. When I see bolts like this, people using bolts like this right here. See all that dirt in the threads right there? See how nasty that is? That is really awful. But then they'll go and they'll use this, and they'll try to put it together, and they'll try to run it up there. As you can see, this is actually going on. And again, this is a bolt that can be cleaned up rather easily without a whole lot of effort, without a whole lot of work. And this bolt will be fantastic. This bolt will be great. Okay? Now, something to pay attention to that I didn't mention earlier is right here along the shank, you want to make sure there's no rust pitting or anything else there, or even in the threads. If there is, that's a bolt you may not want to use. Okay? Because anytime you got that rust pitting going on, that rust pitting allows the bolt to get weakened. Alright? So when we're talking about a high torque situation, it's a bolt that can be compromised. Now, of course, like I said before, dirt and grime and filth in the bolt threads. And here we've got this nut. Hear that? I'm having to really put some effort into making this go on. It's going, but it's not great. As a matter of fact, it's pretty awful. Okay? Tell you what. Give me just a minute here. Come with me over here. Okay. Now, let's see. Let me set you up here where you can see what I'm doing. Because, yeah, let me get you set up so you can see what I'm doing. Apologize about the glare and any kind of shaky camera work. I'm going to put this bolt in my vise here. You probably can't see it on the camera. Get that oil can out of the way. As you can see, got the bolt chucked up in my vise right here. You can see the bolt. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the bolt and I'm going to clean it up a little bit. Here with my wire brush. Simple little handheld wooden wire brush. Now, of course, you could probably use a drill or some sort of grinder with a wire brush in it, and those will work really great too. I didn't want to use all that because I didn't want the noise on the video. So now we've got that cleaned up there real quick. Got that cleaned up. Here we go. Put you back up here. There we are. Now, got it all cleaned up. how nice them threads look. They're all nice and clean, pretty. Going back with a nut. Look at there. Simple like butter again. Okay. This is what I want to. This is what I want to illustrate to you. This is what I want to talk to you about. The reason why is because when you're putting stuff together, like, I don't know, carburetors, superchargers, cams, ignition systems, all of this stuff, higher compression heads with better flowing bigger ports and better flowing valves and bigger valves and all this sort of stuff. If you're going to go through all of that and you're going to put all of this stuff together and you're going to do all that kind of work, you know, use something that looks like that, or maybe like that. Not something that looks like that or this. Okay? Alright? Come on, man. You've got a brain. Use it. Alright? So, now, one little tip I want to pass along to you. Okay? Now, you're probably going to be wondering, you know, a good lubricant for the threads. Well, of course, there's always engine oil. It's always a good thing. Of course, there's also there's dry lubricants like these, and there's also penetrating lubricants, you know, like these as well. Okay. Now, however, if you want a really good lubricant that stays on the threads, it's going to stay there for a long time and keep the threads lubricated, well lubricated for quite a long time. My apologies. You want to use something like NICs. Okay? It doesn't have to be the copper style. It can be the aluminum style. It can be whatever you like. Okay? Just use some. Okay? It's very, very simple. Okay? Just take a little bit, get it on the brush. We'll put it on here. Put it on our bolt we just cleaned up. And hey, looky there. And now that bolt is ready to go. Alright? And here's my nut. I'll put it on here. This bolt is ready now to go on a vehicle, any kind of vehicle, and go to work. Okay? Now, here's another thing about the NICs. Years from now, when I need to take this back apart, I will be able to take this apart. I'll put a wrench on it, I'll break it loose, and it'll come right off. Okay? NICs keeps the water and the moisture and the dirt and the crud from getting in there and corroding everything and making it a real pain in the butt to get it apart. Alright? Oh, one more thing. Not all bolts are created equal. So, you know, some of the Chinese stuff, Taiwan, whatever, from God only knows where it comes from. Some of that stuff, you need to be buyer aware. You need to be aware that some of that stuff is not created equal. Alright? Another thing is, we want to make sure that whatever you're putting together, make sure it goes together and it isn't, I don't know if you can see that or not. See that wiggle? That ain't right. Okay? That happens sometimes. So pay attention. Make sure that whatever you're using works, and it works in the bolt hole, you know, whether it's a cylinder head, it's an engine block, it's whatever. Okay? Because when you go and you start thinking about it, how does that engine stay together? Well, there's all these fasteners in it, all over it. How does that car stay together? You know, you see somebody running at Bonneville, you see somebody racing at Daytona or Le Mans or in Indianapolis or wherever, and you know they're setting records and they're, you know, kicking butt and taking names. You know why? They're doing stuff. They're paying attention to these details. Okay, so I don't care if it's brand new or it's used, whatever it is, pay attention to your details. All right. Thank you. God bless. Have a great day. And y'all have a good one. I'll see you later and appreciate you tuning in. And if you have any questions or comments or anything else, just leave it in the comment section. Thank you. Bye-bye.